Let me set the stage for you. It was about a year ago. 4 men apparently tried to bomb synagogues and shoot down planes in New York State. Except there was no kaboom. The bombs and the Stinger missile they allegedly tried to use to sink the plane were duds, and they were slapped with silver bracelets. Now there's talk not only were the weapons duds, but the accusation of them being terrorists is a dud as well. Joining us now, not a dud, but a radio host, Jason Burmis. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Burmis. So give us the details about this. This might be all duds. This might be a bit of a setup. Can you explain to us just a little bit more?
Absolutely. Well, once again, we have the FBI coming in and actually creating a terror group. In fact, the only weapon that was ever recovered was brought in by the FBI, and it was a handgun. And this is very similar to what happened in 1993 with the original World Trade Center bombing. We had an Egyptian army officer, Ahmed Salam, recruited by the FBI to create a group. And in fact, he was the one that not only created the bomb that went off in the World Trade Center in 1993, but it was supervised by both the FBI and the district attorney. So we see this again and again and again. In fact, during 9/11, 2 of the alleged hijackers actually lived with and rented from an FBI informant.
Okay, Mr. Burmis, a lot of people out there will probably say that your accusations are preposterous, but based on the information I've read, there's a lot of evidence saying that this might be the case. There's also an audio file of conversations between supposedly FBI and these accused men. Let's go and listen to that now.
It was built by supervision from the Bureau and the GA, and we was all informed about it, and we know that the bombs start to be built. By who? By your confidential informant. What a wonderful, great case.
Okay, so that's an audio file that could be evidence. That, I think, comes from your documentary, but then also there is a little bit more evidence besides just that. Can you speak on that a little bit more for us?
Absolutely. You can find this information in my newest documentary, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, over at Infowars.com. And what you were just listening to was that Egyptian informant talking to his FBI handler, John Antisev. And again, we see this over and over and over again. These terrorists are not allowed to create these groups or do these attacks without this type of supervision. Even look at the underwear bomber. We now know from eyewitness testimony that he was brought on the plane by a sharp-dressed man who said that he didn't need a passport and that he was a Sudanese refugee. How are all these terrorists getting through if it's not through organizations like the FBI and the CIA? It seems like when the average Joe makes a report to the FAA, the CIA, the FBI, it's ignored. Why does that happen?
Okay. The claim that I've been reading so far is that there was a federal informant who helped these people out, that he offered them pay, that he provided the maps, and this is, by the way, a federal informant who works allegedly with the FBI, and that he bought the only real weapon, which is a handgun. The question I have for you is this. At this point, are we talking about a possible case of entrapment?
Absolutely. It's more than entrapment. They create the groups. What they do is they find people with low incomes who have small-time criminal records, and then they demonize them by bringing them into false terror plots that, again, are created by the FBI themselves.
Okay. Then the question, the million-dollar question is, why does the FBI do something like this? If they did, in fact...
Well, they have to have a reason to have the Department of Homeland Security. They have to have a reason to have all these CCTV cameras. They have to have a reason for the expansion of their command system control grid, where they literally track, trace, and database everything in our lives. And what is that? It's the fear of terrorism.
Okay. We had this conversation before, but this kind of throws a whole question, a haze over this term terrorist then, once again, does it not?
Absolutely, because again, these people are supposed to have a political goal that they are going to carry out through violence, and the only violence proposed here was by the FBI informant. And this, again, was not even an organization until the FBI got involved. Again, they prey on the weak, they prey on the poor, they prey on low-level criminals, and they trump this up in the media as if there's some great threat from Al-Qaeda blowing up your home.
This claim that the FBI was actually directly involved with this, how much traction is it gaining in the American public and in the media, and what are what's the chances that this claim that the FBI was in on this the entire time, how is that going to hold up in court for these 4 men?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it holds up in court, and really that's the only way we'll find out how far this went. But I suspect at the end of this, these people will be exonerated. The FBI will be looked at. There will be some slaps on the wrist. But it won't be talked about much in the mainstream media and in the American public because, quite frankly, they don't know. These are the type of stories that are on page 17. They're written once and then never followed up on.
Okay, let me ask you maybe more of a page 22 question here. But could you by chance explain to us the difference between maybe entrapment, the concept of entrapment in a legal setting versus a sting operation? I mean, but the question
Well,
I'm asking,
absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm out on the streets and I'm actively looking for somebody to help commit a crime with me for a political goal at the end, that would be me going out to commit a crime. Now, if an FBI agent approaches me and makes promises of a new liver, of all sorts of cash prizes, if I can find other people to carry out his goals, his ideas, that's entrapment. Again, they set these things up. They say, hey, we can give you all this stuff. You can get a new liver. You can get some money. Just find other people to help with this jihad. And again, they prey on the poor. How are they going to pay their rent? Probably through this FBI informant.
Okay, well, Jason Burmis, some very, very interesting thoughts to have on this alleged terror plot. Jason Burmis, a documentarian and also a radio host, thank you so much for joining us today.